October 28th, 2025, Rio de Janeiro. The siege begins. Before sunrise, the city woke up to a war it never officially declared. Armored vehicles pushed through alleyways, helicopters circled low, and drones carrying improvised bombs rained down on police units. Highways were shut down, buses set on fire, entire communities cut off. And by the end of the day, more than 120 people were dead, making this the deadliest police raid in Brazil's history. The police created a mastermind plan to bait criminals into going to the woods where they patiently waited for them to settle business. We take a deep dive into the deadliest operation in the history of Brazilian police. If you're new here, hit like, subscribe, and activate notifications. There's a lot more coming. 4:47 a.m. Complexo da Penha, Rio de Janeiro. This is Operação Contenção, the largest police action in Rio's history. Its objective, strike directly at the operational heart of the Comando Vermelho, CV, the most entrenched criminal faction in Brazil. No speeches, no warnings, just a timestamp, a target, and a city bracing for impact. 5:12 a.m. The first contact. The silence breaks. Gunfire cracks across the hillside as CV lookouts spot the advancing armored column. Radios erupt with coded warnings. Within seconds, riflemen position themselves on rooftops. Weapons appear at windows. AK-47s, AR-15, Fusil 7.62, and Glock .40 pistols, many illegally imported. Some traced to Paraguay, Venezuela, and even Argentina. A burst of automatic fire rains onto the Caveirão's windshield. The armored glass holds. BOP answers with controlled surgical bursts from rifles, clearing the first alley. The operation has begun. 5:46 a.m. Air support. Above the favela, a choque helicopter circles at 1,200 feet. Its spotlight slices through the darkness. Below, officers advance block by block, house by house. A small drone zips past the helicopter's beam, then dives. An improvised explosive dropped from above detonates 20 meters behind a BOP squad. This is the new battlefield. Urban alleys, cheap drones, criminal paramilitary tactics. Rio de Janeiro is seeing warfare techniques imported from cartel territories and foreign conflicts, now adapted for local terrain. 6:28 a.m. Movement on the high ground. On the ridge separating Penha from Alemão, officers intercept a fleeing group of CV soldados. One is carrying what looks like a communications switchboard. Another holds a backpack filled with grenades and radio repeaters. They push into the woods, dividing the favelas, not realizing they're walking straight into a trap, one the police engineered with surgical precision. One of the main objectives of the operation is to get Doca, also known as Urso. He is one of the leaders of CV and has been causing mayhem in the favelas by invading different territories dominated by other groups. Doca is warned about the raid, and now he is off. While the operation rages in the hills, the impact reaches the asphalt below. Gunmen hijack buses and cargo trucks, torching them to create fiery barricades blocking all east-west movement across Rio. Commuters walk along the highway shoulder as black smoke rises into the morning sky. School administrators cancel classes. More than 40,000 students stay home. The megacity is paralyzed. The governor calls it a necessary measure. Critics call it urban warfare. But both sides agree on one thing. Rio hasn't seen violence like this in decades. 8:04 a.m. Deep penetration. BOP teams breach a suspected CV command post, a 3-story structure with overlapping lines of fire. Inside, crates of 7.62 ammunition, AR-15 lower receivers, 42 kilograms of cocaine base, encrypted radios, tactical vests with CV insignia. On one table, investigators find a map. Red markers indicate police blind spots. Blue markers indicate drone launch points. Several zones are circled. This is coordinated territory, not random crime, not scattered gangs. A criminal federation with structure, hierarchy, and intelligence. 9:11 a.m., the escape corridor. By mid-morning, police tries to advance into Sector 6, a dense cluster of alleys. They're met with the heaviest resistance of the entire operation. Gunfire from 3 directions: high ground, low ground, crossfire. Officers take cover behind stairwells and brick corners, returning precise bursts. Then something unusual: a formation of CV gunmen moving in a defensive pattern, covering each other with suppressive fire. In the middle of the formation, a man the police knows very well. It's Doka, the CV leader. For 11 minutes, the shootout intensifies, then collapses as the group disappears into a network of alleys. The leadership escapes. 10 a.m. The trap in the woods. The CV soldiers sprint toward the tree line, believing it's their safest escape. They're wrong. Bope has been there for nearly an hour, blended into the undergrowth, rifles leveled, breathing slow. They move through the trees with the confidence of men who believe the forest will shield them, certain this path guarantees their escape. The moment the criminals enter the kill zone, gunfire explodes through the forest. A massive exchange of gunfire erupts between police and criminals, a fierce, close-quarters battle tearing through the woods. Rounds crack overhead, bullets slicing across the police line as agents respond with precision, neutralizing multiple targets. Gunfire erupts from both sides, chaos compressed into seconds. Every tree becomes cover, every shadow becomes a threat. The forest echoes with automatic fire. No commands, no hesitation, only survival. Both sides trade rounds with ruthless precision. It's a gunfight at point-blank destiny. In a sudden reversal, CV gunmen launch a surprise ambush against a unit, wounding 2 officers. The tension spikes instantly. The operation can't stop, but the wounded need to be evacuated now. Under heavy fire, teams scramble to stabilize the officers and coordinate an extraction route down the hillside. Step by step, alley by alley, they pull them out of the conflict zone and reach an ambulance positioned at the base of the hill. Within seconds, the wounded are rushed to the hospital, a rare moment where the mission pauses, if only briefly, to save their own. Inside the woods, the bodies of CV gunmen begin to pile up. The police strategy unfolds with brutal precision, leaving the criminals with no angle, no cover, and no chance to escape. 10:42 a.m. Casualty reports. As Sector 6 quiets, initial casualty reports flow in, dozens dead across both complexes. 4 police officers killed, over 90 rifles seized, more than 500 kilograms of drugs confiscated, armored vehicles damaged, helicopter forced to reposition due to drone threat. The official death count grows by the hour. The final number will become one of the darkest figures in Rio's history, 121 to 132 killed, depending on the source. The Public Defender's Office uses a different word: massacre. 11:20 a.m. Discovery in the woods. Residents report bodies in a wooded zone, an area the police had swept earlier in the morning. When investigators arrive, they find large numbers of corpses. Some wounded, some executed, at least 1 decapitated images spread online immediately. The human rights groups demand an international investigation. The governor responds, "War is war, but this is not a conventional war. It's something more complicated, more chaotic, a conflict between a sovereign state and a criminal parallel state embedded inside its territory." 2:14 p.m. Intelligence debrief. Police intelligence compiles data from seized devices, CV financial operations, payment ledgers, weapons procurement routes, encrypted voice messages, names of regional managers, drone staging points, narcotics distribution routes. Over 270 USB drives, phones, and SD cards are logged. A pattern emerges. The CV wasn't preparing for retreat. They were preparing for expansion across multiple other favelas. The operation hit them at a critical moment. 4:22 p.m., international reaction. The world responds. The United Nations calls the death toll horrifying. Countries across South America issue statements demanding investigations. The U.S. State Department updates its travel advisory, exercise extreme caution in Rio de Janeiro. Colombia compares the event to Medellin's Operation Orion of 2002. Argentina and Paraguay reinforce borders, citing fear that CV members will flee. Rio's governor calls the operation a success, but internationally the word being used is different: brutality. 6:03 p.m., the city at dusk. As the sun sets, smoke still rises from the burned buses. Police units withdraw, one sector at a time. The hills are quiet now, but it's not peace. It's exhaustion. More than 120 dead. Millions in damage. Schools closed. Roads burned. Thousands traumatized. And the Comando Vermelho, wounded but not dismantled, continues to operate. The question isn't who won. The question is what comes next. Final reckoning. In Rio de Janeiro, favelas sit on hillsides like sleeping giants, communities full of life, but also battlegrounds for power. On October 28, 2025, those hills awakened. And for one long day, the state and the Comando Vermelho fought for control of a city that belongs to neither of them fully. Urban warfare, paramilitary tactics, armored vehicles, drones dropping explosives, schools closed, highways burning, and civilians caught in the middle. The truth is simple. When a criminal faction becomes strong enough to challenge the state, what follows no longer looks like policing. It looks like war. And if you found this analysis valuable, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you in the next one.